Hey guys, welcome back to eDoggy's Garage. The 65 Mustang project continues. Before we get to that, I'd like to ask you guys to subscribe to our channel, like our channel, and make some comments. We'd like to know what you're thinking, whether we're doing a good job or a bad job. Leave us some comments and let us know what you think. Right off the bat, I want to say hi to a friend of ours, Tommy Scott. He's in Springfield, Illinois. He has multi-fire spark plug wires. If you're running a drag car, a sprint car, any kind of stock car, whether it be asphalt or dirt, you want to get a hold of Tommy and get a set of his spark plug wires. His wires will outlast your competition. So get a hold of Multi-Fire and Tommy Scott and get you a set of his wires. We got some stuff in the mail. As I showed you in the last episode, we are using one of these clear view filtration filter assemblies. And when I went to kind of mock this up under the hood, the inner fender of the Mustang sits at an angle. It's not straight up and down where I want to put this filter. So we reached out to Clear View Filtration and they sent us an adjustable filter, our adjustable mount for our filter. So that's going to help us under the hood. If you watched our last episode, you'll see what we were talking about. We reached out to Trick Tools and we got Trick Tools to send us an ICEngine Works modeling kit so that we can build our headers for the 65 Mustang 427 Hemi motor. The majority of the engines that I mess with are in the neighborhood of 500 horsepower, naturally aspirated. You don't need anything bigger than 1 7/8 for your primary tubes for those, so I bought an 1 7/8 kit. We're gonna do 2-inch tubes on the Mustang. So two things that I have to consider is I don't have as many options for radiuses, as far as tight radiuses, and I don't have, I have to keep in mind that my 1 7/8 don't take up as much space as 4 2-inch tubes. So I got to keep in mind that diameter while I'm modeling those primary tubes. But I think I can figure it out. We have always built headers and exhaust by guessing. You kind of look at it and you go, okay, I think I can cut a U-bend here, and then you put it up in there, you put the two pieces together, and you might be off a little bit, so you have to cut a little bit more off, and you waste a lot of material. We are hoping that the ICEngine Works kit helps us to be more precise in our mock-up, and then we can actually model these things and get them under the hood, find out where everything is going to go, see what kind of room we have. So this is going to be a great addition to the shop. And I'll show you more because we did some work. We did some work on our dual saw, and that is where we're going to cut our stainless steel for the exhaust for the Mustang. Speaking of exhaust, we reached out to Specialty Products Design right there, and they sent us some stainless steel U-bends. They were able to get us some 2.5-inch radius, and we really needed this. This is a big deal for underneath the hood of the Mustang, because without the 2.5-inch radius stuff, I was gonna have trouble. My bends weren't gonna be what I would call like a nice continuous radius, so they really helped us out by sending us these 2.5. And then we've got some other radiuses also, and that is in 2-inch stainless steel. It's time to put our ICEngine Works kit that we got from Trick Tools to work. We're gonna get ready to build our 2-inch primary tubes, but we're gonna take a little bit of a different angle because on an 1 7/8 kit, which would help me more often, but we are doing 2-inch primary tubes on our headers for the 427 Ford Hemi that's in our 65 Mustang project. So this is how I'm gonna get around that. Our flanges are 2-inch flanges. I've taken a piece of 2-inch tube and I cut it and I just tacked it into the flange. Now I'm going to insert a piece of 1 7/8 into that piece that I tacked in. And once all of these are tacked into the flange, then I can use our rubber biscuit that we use to attach our modeling blocks to, that tighten up inside of our exhaust ports, and that allows us to start building off of our flanges. So a little bit of preliminary work here in order to get ready to start building our tubing. All right, we've got our Miller Dynasty 400 fired up. It's ready to go. I've got some, I think it's 035 wire. I'm just gonna dot on a little bit of material
to hold our 1 7/8 to our 2-inch tubing so we can get ready to build our mock-up for our primary tubes for our headers for our Mustang.
All right, we'll get those mounted to the heads and we'll be able to start modeling our headers. Okay, let the fun begin. So I've already got one of our modeling blocks held in to our header flange. One of the things that I think that you should do is, these are all stainless steel components. So I like to put, and I realize that anti-seize, you got to be really cautious because it'll get all over you, but I put anti-seize on my stainless, and I figure these here, if I'm going to use them with any kind of frequency, tightening these up and loosening them, I don't want to gall them into this because that's an important part of this kit. So I anti-seized my bolts. This is how them go together. Again, this is the fun part. I mean, it's really not very exciting, but you slide those two together. That goes into the flange. You can see that. And then you tighten up the Allen through the inside of the modeling block. And what that does is, it's like one of those old rubber freeze plugs. It crushes that rubber, it expands it, so that tightens up into the flange, and then that piece of rubber expands and tightens itself up into the modeling block. So what I like to do, because it is kind of difficult when you got the engine in the car, especially with the amount of space that we don't have on the Mustang, is I'm going to go ahead and assemble this stuff in the flanges with one modeling block, so that when I put the flanges up in the car, the modeling blocks are attached to the flanges and ready to go. And I kind of point the radiuses downhill so that, you know, I don't have to do a ton of twisting. And then you do have to watch out. If you let these hang through a ton, sometimes they'll hang up on the port opening and make your flange hang out a little bit. So you want to make sure that those are flush as possible before you tighten them up too much. All right, there's one flange ready to go in the car and get ready to start building, mocking up header tubes. All right, two flanges ready to go up, mount to the head. And as I'm gonna say several times in this episode of E-Doggy's Garage, these are 1 7/8 blocks. They're green. I have some 2-inch blocks that are yellow. And I'm going to use the 2-inch blocks in the areas where I know I'm going to have clearance issues. So you'll see some green and some yellow, but primarily you're going to see 1 7/8 modeling blocks. All right, just so you know what I have to deal with here, that is the steering joint coming off of our rack, steering rod going up to the bottom of our steering column, and look at that. Those are our exhaust ports. We have another video where we show you how we modified our Alumaframe from Detroit Speed. That is not out yet, but look for that upcoming. So that is the area where I need to bring the 2-inch primary tube headers through and made out to our collectors here. And then that is the space that I have to work with. Now, the pool noodle that is wrapped around the starter, my starter for this car will not fit the oil pan, but it will once I cut the oil pan, so it takes up a little bit more space. So I've got some foam on that starter to duplicate where my other starter is going to be. I know it's kind of backwoods, but it has to work for now because I'm not taking the engine out and cutting up the oil pan yet. I'm gonna go ahead and mock up my headers. And then I know I'll have enough room based on where that foam is. But that is the area that my headers gotta go. I think I'll put them flanges on. Here's what it looks like with the flanges in place. And as you can see, those first 2.5-inch radiuses, I turned them down prior to putting them, while I was putting them in the flanges. So now those will twist on those rubbers. They're not easy to twist, but they will. You can orient them differently after you get them put up on the cylinder head. And then there you go. So I'll put a few blocks on and we'll see what we're gonna get. And modeling it is gonna take me quite a while. The headers on this thing are going to be a bear. So I'm gonna mess with it, and if I get one mocked up, I'll put it on the video. All right, been working on this for probably a couple hours. And it's like working on a puzzle that can be built, but you actually have to build the pieces to the puzzle to complete the puzzle. It's kind of hard to describe, but that's kind of what I'm dealing with. Just wait till we start cutting tubing. So that is about where I want my collector to be. Now keep in mind, like I've been saying this whole episode, that is 1 7/8 blocks. Now, I'm around my steering joint with plenty of room for the diameter. Now again, it is mocked up in plastic. But as you can see, I'm around all the components I need to be around. It will be a bear to install that header. I really do believe that I'll probably have to take the engine, the engine's gonna have to be out, and then we'll put the headers in and then we'll drop the engine in. But that kit gets us really close. Now I'm gonna start pulling them pieces out of there. And in the next episode that we show you, we will start making some parts. Okay, very time-consuming process. We have the driver's side header mocked up. It's mocked up in 1 7/8 blocks. I have enough clearance around everything that I do believe that the 2-inch diameter will fit. It is tight. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of trimming on the Alumaframe. I might have to do a little trimming on the bell housing to get my collector to come through, but I do believe that we can make this work. Again, it takes time, especially when it's so tight. And I feel for anybody that ever has to make headers for something that's super, super tight. But this kit from ICEngine Works is gonna make all the difference, because I am not gonna waste a bunch of material trying to set my headers up. So next time you see us, we will be cutting tubing, attaching it to the flanges, and then we're gonna try to work our way out. Thanks for stopping by on eDoggy's Garage. Remember, subscribe, like, and make some comments. We'll see you next time.